So I've been out here in the garage the last couple of weeks, as y'all know, building a chopper for smokeout that has to be done by September. My first goal is to have that done by August. And I took the frame today for powder coat, and Chopper Carl took away the tank and the fender to be painted. And so I had my first moment to calm down, have a little drink out of my Deadwood cup, and reflect on the upcoming schedule. And then began to melt down because I realized that I leave for Sturgis in 9 weeks. And am no way ready, and haven't even started doing the Sturgis video series. So let's do 2024 Sturgis, let's be honest, half-assed, half-drunk, and with no time. Why is it, though, that, Jack and Coke is the thing that Beam and Coke's a little better? And it's just I'm professional. It's my professional medical opinion, but I'm just telling you, Beam and Coke's a little better. Oh, she's got graduation. Baby Monkey had graduation from 5th grade today. Isn't that fun? Isn't it interesting that they even celebrate graduation from 5th grade? But the hell do I know? So anyway, we got to get on this, right? So every year, the last couple of years, and what started this channel 3 years ago was me doing videos about Sturgis. I first went to Sturgis, holy shit, 34 years ago was my first Sturgis. Some of you out there has been earlier than that. But, that's a pretty good chunk of my life. Not all of it, but it's a good portion of it. So 34 years ago, my father took me to Sturgis with two of his very best friends. We met a bunch of others while we were up there. So that story goes like this. My dad wants to go to Sturgis, the king of the motorcycle rallies, especially if you think about back then. And my wife says, not unless you take our son, so you behave yourself, which Dad was never a concern. He really was, straight as an arrow, just a kind of stand-up kind of dude. But he's like, I don't care, that'd be awesome. So his buddies are going to ride up from St. Louis. He was in the car business, so he comes up with a pickup truck, and one of his very best friends lends us a pop-up camper. So the plan is we'll put his Sportster, yes, my father rode a Sportster. Go ahead. It was the early 90s, late 80s that he bought it, and that was the fast Harley. So if you wanted to go fast, Sportster, that's what it was. And he's also not a very tall dude, so it was a hot rod for him. Anyway, so we take this pickup truck, a Nissan hardbody V6, put the Sportster in the bed of it, kind of like that, and then hook on this pop-up and take all of Bud and Daryl's, his two best buddies who went with us, all their gear in our truck. So we're hauling everything as the mule. That's the wrong choice of words. It was just clothes. We weren't hauling anything else in the truck. Anyway, so we're hauling all that stuff up to Sturgis, and we get maybe 50, 60 miles outside of town. We stop for the first fuel stop, and Bud, who's a great dude, he's retired. He's no longer with us, but at the time, he was an older guy. He was like, don't make that boy ride in a pickup truck all that way. He rode an Ultra Classic. He's like, hop on the back. I was 13, 12. That can't be right. My math is wrong. It was 34 years ago, 1990. How the old was I? Maybe it was 8. I don't remember. Anyway, so I was not full grown yet. So I jumped in the back of Bud's Ultra Classic. That was the first time I got to ride to Sturgis, was in the back of Bud's Ultra Classic. And I'll tell you what, as a young man with that giant seat back there, I was like, this is a lazy boy. I'm rolling down the road. We're listening to Conway Twitty and Ronnie Millsap and stuff, and it was fantastic the whole way. Anyway, so that was the first chance I got to go. It was eye-opening. I'll add stories in future videos because this video today is simply about where to stay. I've stayed over the years, and I'm not saying I'm the authority. Don't be like, who's this fucking guy? Just someone who's gone to Sturgis for 34 years and stayed in hotels and campgrounds and what else? What's the other option? Haven't done the Airbnb thing, but cabins, rental RV, done that 1 year. Done a lot of different stuff in a lot of different locations. I've stayed in Rapid City. I've stayed in Keystone. I've stayed in Sturgis. And then I've stayed at the major campgrounds around town. So I feel like I got a pretty good handle on what's it like to stay in a hotel or a campground. Airbnb I just wouldn't do just because they're always someplace else. But let's talk about why I feel like campgrounds are it. Right? That's just the only way. If you have an RV or access to one. All right? So let's talk about campgrounds first. Cost. And this is literally just off the top of my head. I have no notes. I haven't prepared for this at all. I suck at this. Anyway, so cost. All right? So you can rent an RV space if you have one or have access to one or rent one or whatever. An RV space for let's call it between $800 and $900, right, for your space. And that'll have your power and your water, at least if not power, water, sewer. And then your wristbands, a few $100s, and a lot of those wristbands include access to a lot of stuff. If you use the buffalo chip as an example, which I do think is the king, even though that's not even where I stay anymore. The buffalo chip is the king of the campgrounds, okay? Because your space is like $800-900. Your wristband is, call it $350, each. And included in that $350 and your $900 is not only the spot to put your RV, but it's also major concerts, I can't think of any other rallies that have this big of concerts. Like you're talking this year, Jelly Roll is one of them. He's pretty freaking big artist. I don't mean physically. He was a big boy too, but I'm talking about like on the charts and stuff. And they've got, I can't think of everyone else. Like they have Leonard Skinner in a lot of years, and I can't remember who the hell else is on, but they're major acts, right? Big concerts every night. It's a lot of freaking fun. The Chip is the king. It just is. The Chip is amazing. So those of you who were saying, well, I stayed at the Chip last year and it was a muddy mess. That last year was not exactly normal weather. We got pissed on for days with ice water, and it's a field. What do you think happened? It went bad, but it's not the Buffalo Chip's fault. Act of God, man. It's not like they did all that they could. They used trucks to pull people around. It sucked for you, but that was just not normal. Not the way it is normally. Normally it's hot as hell during Sturgis. So anyway, the Chip is the king, right? And it's a good example. So the last year and then again this year, we're staying at the Steel Pony only because a lot of my very closest friends are not into the late night concert scene. I still am. So we end up going to the Chip and then coming home at the Pony. But so they stay at the Pony. A lot of the chopper guys stay at the Pony. You have full hookups. It is a nicer sort of campground, but the fact that you're away from the action. The reason why that's a problem, and this is something serious to think about no matter where you stay at Sturgis, is if you go to the Chip and you have a fabulous time, and you go see Jelly Roll, and you're a huge fan, and you're like, woo, I'd like to do 17 tequila shots while I watch Jelly Roll, and then you go get on your bike, and then you go straight to prison, because that's what's going to happen. You're going to get pulled over, you're going to the clink, right? You cannot go anywhere in Sturgis drunk on your bike. It is not a good idea. You will not get away with it. I do believe Sturgis law enforcement do it about as best you possibly could as far as just trying to keep people alive. They're not jerks or anything, but they do tend to pull people over. Like that's a thing. If it's 2 a.m. and you're pulling out of the Chip, if you don't look like a professional rider, a freaking motorman pulling out of there, they're going to pull you over. They're going to be like, oh yeah, the left blinker flashed for a second on you. Like something. They'll make something up, pull you over, talk to you for a second. If you give them any inkling at all that you've had a drink, breathalyzer right there. It's going to happen. So what? Uno momento, por favor. I also didn't have my lights on, so I got to turn those on as the wife came out to give me another command. Anyway, so that's a reason to stay where you're going to party. That's to make a short story long. Stay where you're going to party. That idea of like, I'm going to have a hotel room in Cheyenne and then go tie one on at the Chip. You could die or get hurt. Nobody wants that. I really don't. The older I get, the more I want nobody getting hurt. I want everyone to make it home, right? Like I really don't want anybody getting hurt. But besides that, you're going to go to jail, and it's going to cost you $15,000 for the shots of tequila, and you don't want to do that. So besides your bike gets, impounded and dinged up and beat up and whatever, you don't want that. So stay where you're going to party. If you're not a partier, you can stay away from the action at the Chip. You can go way out by the fence line. You know what I mean? You can do that, but it might not be the place for you. If you're all about quietness and you want to be in Betty by 9 o'clock, it might not be the place for you. There are other places. I know that there's like Shade Valley and other places, et cetera, et cetera. I think number 2 in your campgrounds is Glencoe. Glencoe's fun. Glencoe's wild. Glencoe is what you expect a major motorcycle rally experience to be. I can't tell the stories of the things I've seen at Glencoe. That's actually where we stayed the first time in 1990. It was Glencoe. Saw some stuff. Screwed me up for life. But there's some exercise balls in Glencoe with attachments on the exercise balls that are used as public transportation devices I can't think of a way to say this. You know what I'm saying? Like I've seen that live at Glencoe. It's a lot of fun. There's There's not a lot of apparel being worn in Glencoe. That's what you're going to see, late at night. Oh, phone call. My buddy at the local Harley dealer. Going to pick up a bike on Friday. Didn't buy one. Don't calm down. I didn't buy a Harley. They're loaning me one for several weeks, and it's going to be fun. Anyway, so stay where you're going to party, all that sort of stuff. Hotels are expensive. An $89 a night hotel room is suddenly $350 the week of Sturgis. It's very expensive, and you will end up staying pretty far out. You gotta remember, the Sturgis area is hundreds of miles wide. It is. It's like last year we rode, of course, in South Dakota, Montana, Wyoming, and a state I'm not remembering. Just while we were there. We do a couple hundred miles a day. And then you do, of course, I'll do a whole video on the rides, but Needles Highway and Iron Mountain and stuff, and you'll be in the saddle all day. But places to stay, I recommend campgrounds. You can do, this is a really good deal actually, that $900 space, you can forego that if you rent an RV. So you can rent an RV. I think it's Jack's RV. That's what we rented from a couple of years ago. It was $2,500, and maybe the price increased. I'm just saying it was $2,500, but that was with the $900 in it. So it was $2,500 to rent an RV sitting on a space at the Buffalo Chip, which included the space rental with power water, not sewer. Obviously, you got to pay for that to be pumped, but that to me is a good deal because you're, again, in the action. It's not your rig. You don't have to pull it. You can ride if you're within riding distance and one of those long haul dudes. You can ride and do that and still get there and be in the action in a campground with air conditioning. That's a thing right there. So I think renting an RV is fantastic. Hotels, way too expensive, way too far away. Airbnbs, I've seen some gouging, and you just never know what it's going to get. It's not a Hilton. It's not even a Motel 6. It's Bob Smith's house in who knows where, Wyoming. And you're like, great, I'm 130 miles from the rally in a subdivision, and I'm going to get a DWI trying to get home. So that's episode 1. I'm going to do these videos, because we ain't got no time, every day. So I just did places to stay. Tomorrow we'll do either where to eat, where to drink, best ride, something like that. And eventually we'll end this out with the top ways to screw up your Sturgis, because there's a lot of real easy ways to ruin your whole rally. I've seen it a million times. So thanks for watching this stuff. Tune into this video. Obviously you just did. This is a dumb thing to say. But tomorrow for the next one. But I love you all to death. Take care of each other. We'll talk real soon. Bye.